Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Bronson Louis. How's it going today, man?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing really well. How's the weather up there in Fort Worth?
It was wet
Yes.
this morning, and it's been drying up now. Sun's out, and it's heating it all up just again. So we're ready for that fall season to start coming around here
Right.
eventually.
That this time of year is my favorite time of year in Texas. I've been here 5 years, but like that late September to early November,
Mhm.
it doesn't get much better than that in Texas.
Well, it's always a toss up because it can be you start seeing the leaves changing colors, or that summer rain comes through. We call it like a late summer rain, and
Mhm.
starts cooling off. And then by the next day, all that humidity's out, and it's like 95, 96 degrees again. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that
it's a
is
toss up.
that
So,
is fair. That is very fair. So
yeah.
how's everything been going? You're up in Fort Worth. How's I know Fort Worth's been really pushing their music scene. I have a whole bunch of friends. We were just talking about Dustin not too long ago.
Yeah,
Um, and it seems like Fort Worth's really got something going on right now. So how's everything been going?
it's been going great. Fort Worth, they talk about just the music scene in general. People go to Austin, or people hear of Nashville for this music scene. Fort Worth has got their own thing going on out here, and I clearly support what's going on. We like to keep it local and just help each other. It's about what we're trying to say. It's about the camaraderie rather than the comparisons here with each other. So there's something for everybody to do. We just had, you mentioned Dustin. We had Dustin Brown on to show, help produce a show here called Banded Together Through Music with North Texas Radio. Um, and he was on with an artist that developed his own way of using a harmonica for people with disabilities. So they were playing it, a couple of tunes earlier. He was jamming with them with that, and yeah, some really cool things that we're doing for other artists, and the other artists are obviously enjoying each other's time and collaborating with each other, and just making it all about the music.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure,
mhm.
for sure. And so you're in Fort Worth. Are you born and raised Fort Worth, or are you from somewhere else and then moved to Fort Worth?
And fortunately, no, I was not born. I feel like I was raised from Fort Worth. I found out a really good friend of ours. So I was born in California, in the Antelope Valley area of California, Mojave Desert. And the whole time growing up, there's a good friend across the street. He helped pretty much raise me, but found out after his death that he was from White Settlement, right here in Fort Worth, Texas, another little area. And so I tell people I was kind of raised as a Texan, and got here as soon as I could, kind of deal. So, but I've been here since I was 10 years old. I grew up out here in this area. So we know all the parts. We've seen the places come, we've seen the places go, and all the other changes that have been going on out here. And so I'm just blessed to be part of this city. My kids sometimes hate it, but it's like I love Fort Worth. It's going to take a lot for me to move away from this city.
For
So,
sure. I'm glad I gave Texas a second chance because the first time I ever really visited Texas, I
mhm.
kind of had a bad taste in my mouth about it. And
Oh no, no.
it's nothing necessarily Texas did. It's more of I was helping a buddy shoot a film and he took me to a sketchy part of Dallas Fort Worth.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm from South Chicago, so I'm used to sketchy places.
Hmm.
This place gave me the creeps. Like I didn't want to be there. So I couldn't tell you 100% where I was. It was over by Love's Field or Love, yeah,
Yeah,
that
Dallas
airport.
Field.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
So
probably rolling through Harry Hines or somewhere down there.
that sounds
So
about right. So,
yeah,
but
our former mayor Betsy Price used to call Fort Worth the biggest small town in Texas.
nice.
And people from Dallas will have their thing about Fort Worth. People from Fort Worth have their own stigma against people from Dallas. So we're like those neighbors, like those rivalry between each other.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure. So growing up in California and then moving out to Texas, I'm assuming you were kind of exposed to like Texas country pretty early.
um yes and no. I mean, Texas country, it wasn't something I was on the radar with when I was young, I'll be honest with you. I consider myself more Americana style artist and started influencing this Texas sound when I started getting into music and listening to all that. Once I started hitting my teen years. But when I was living in California and just growing up listening to music, we were listening to people like Jackson Brown. I love Jackson Brown. I listened to a lot of Dave Matthews when I was younger. The Eagles was a big deal, with my family and everything else. But around music in general, like my parents had a stage set up for one of their 40th and their birthday in the backyard, and they had one of their friends play in the backyard of the house for their 40th. So it was always around music. I originally wanted to be a drummer. My parents didn't want to have a drum set in the house, so they bought me a guitar, and it sat for years before I started playing. So
You mean your parents, like most parents in the country, weren't okay with you being a drummer?
I know, right? Isn't that just strange? So
Jeez,
we did something different. So my son had some aspirations to be a drummer as
mhm,
well. And so nowadays, with the advancement in technology and everything else, we bought him an actual it's an electronic kit.
mhm,
It's a nitro, Elisa's nitro kit.
yeah,
And so every now and then we'll hear him tapping and doing stuff. So I didn't want to stifle that if he really wanted to take, with the drum start and do all that. But he wants to just smash cymbals and be a rock star up there. So that's like
fair.
you need to get your rudiments and everything else in order. So hold
Yeah,
on.
especially at this young of an age, I'm sure he's probably benefiting from like the electronic kit. Yeah, it's not going to always sound the best because I've been to some shows where they'll bring that electronic drum kit out and it's like, oh dear God, what are you
Yeah.
doing? You know? Um, and then as he gets older, I'm sure if he decides to continue with the drums, he will set that electronic kit aside and
Yeah. There's no substitute, but for like practice and
mhm,
just getting your chops down, then yeah, that's definitely, an option, especially if
mhm.
you live like in an apartment complex,
Oh, oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, when did you kind of figure figure out your music? Like you wanted to figure out you wanted to be a musician and start writing and playing and all that stuff.
I always liked music. I wanted to have a part of it in some way. Honestly, I can probably say that I'm still trying to figure all this out. I've only been into it for just 2 years. I
Hmm.
started performing just 2 years ago. We had a conversation earlier. Dustin and I were talking about my first open mic that I ever been to, and it was just this bad taste in my mouth, and just I got a really big glimpse into like what one side of the music industry is, and it's this clickiness, kind of
Hmm.
this ego thing. And I was just ready. It's like, if this is a part of what this is, then I don't want any part of it
Hmm.
at all. But as we kept going to open mics and meeting other people and other artists, and I actually met a friend of mine. His name's Question Baker. He's got music out there. Uh, I mean, he's no other artist like it is like him. But I met him that very first open mic, and we've been friends ever since. So meeting those people is what's kept me into the music and made me, I guess, want to fulfill my dream. Now that I am trying to do this and do music full time, I've just been doing this music full time as of last year. They're now taking all that and saying I can get my dreams complete too. Or like I can chase after my dreams. Like if this guy can do it and he's got 3 kids, his wife and everything else, then I can do it myself.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but I think what got me into it is just knowing that I can make my own time. I could make something, just create something and put it out there. And if people love it, then they love it. That's enough for me, really. And just being blessed at this point where I'm at in my life and my family's life, that we have the opportunity to do that and still make it. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's what it took. I guess I could give the shout out to my wife and let her know that if it wasn't for her support into everything, I'd still be working at AT&T and climbing telephone poles today.
Hey,
So,
hey, you know what though? I'm glad that you're taking this opportunity to like really explore this avenue and give it a shot and just kind of not let the fear of the unknown get the best of you and take that negative initial interaction.
mhm.
It's kind of funny. I always wonder how many people have like a negative first interaction or a negative first experience, and then they throw away an entire potential career behind it
Yeah.
because of those. And the fact that you just kind of kept it going, it was like, okay, that's unpleasant, but let's figure out a way to make this work, you know?
And so it the negative is what really hurts. I mean, like
Mhm.
think about how many sad songs are out there. Like you got these heart wrenchers, songs, and they really hit home for people. But
Mhm.
how many like fast, upbeat, like all these different songs that you might hear it, you might forget about it quickly than you would like a sad song.
Mhm.
We've talked about it with the songwriters group here in Fort Worth. That for every good experience, like at a restaurant, you might get like maybe, like a certain percentage of it, like 50%
Mhm.
of people would probably like put a check on there and say, hey, I had a really good time, or the waiter or whatever was really nice or something, whatever the case is. But for every negative experience, people got that phone in a holster and they're ready to tell them about. I mean, they're telling everybody out there.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, this is a terrible time. Don't come here. The food sucked, or whatever the case is. And the same thing goes with music sometimes. Like when they see that or they hear it, like they're quick to tell everybody about it, quick to run, all over town and start
Mhm.
talking about it rather than what's good about something.
Mhm.
Let's support. Let's talk about that positive rather than the negative side. And so we're become such a society. Social media. I mean, I'm here talking on on the interview with you. We're doing the whole social media thing, this
Yeah.
podcast thing, but we've become such like a me culture with it all that people are so quick to see the negative and everything rather than the positive of it. And so I could think that was what was almost a challenge for us to try to get through this. Is like, how can we shake it up a little bit and change things? And so the only other person I could have ever done this with was my wife with that. So, and she's doing it. We're
Nice.
all doing it.
Right, right. What's been the hardest part about obviously like doing this full time and being 100% dependent on it is a huge risk, and it's a whole different animal. But what's been like the hardest part for you to wrap your head around kind of making this change, walking away from a full time guaranteed paycheck and, all that stuff to
Yeah.
I may not get
Um,
paid tomorrow. Who knows?
I think that is what you just said is this is the hardest thing. You don't know whether it's going to be feast or famine or
Mm.
um for me, I was always kind of routined and structured. I didn't have this kind of just fly at the seat of your pants kind of thing. Whereas now, I still book myself out. I'm booked up through the rest of this year for places like, and there's no Saturday that's not
Yeah.
filled now for music. So I do like to schedule that and know where I'm going to be at. However, we still get calls every now and then. If someone needs somebody booked or whatever the case is, hey, can you fit this spot? Or hey, can you do this? Or just waking up in the morning and knowing if I don't have a routine, just kind of I struggle with it sometimes. I would love to know what I was doing every single day to make it seem like efficient or just
Hmm.
productive. And so, and you don't really see that with like the music. I mean, you can check your streams every day if you really wanted to, but then why would you want to do that? If I'm
Right.
only been doing this 2 years, I'm not going to have, thousands of streams overnight and have to, track all that down.
Hmm.
So it's just finding time for prioritizing things in your music and then your family. And then of course, everybody else that, that we come along with in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's been like just the struggle of it. It's just not having that set,
Yeah.
like I go here or I do that. So
Right. You
mhm.
brought up a very interesting thing about not checking analytics and all that stuff. And I try so hard not to do that, but because I have to upload stuff like every day, it's
It's there. Yeah.
it's there, and it's just like it's really hard to not be like, huh, that episode didn't do the numbers I thought it would do. Dang it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And then you start comparing and you're just like, what did I do wrong or what should I
Right.
do next?
Right.
So
And
mm,
so now I'm kind of at the point where starting in October or at the mid of October when I go down to do Jam, I'm gonna have enough content to like let it ride for the rest of the year and
yeah,
just kind of
relax.
pre-upload everything and then be like, okay, I don't gotta go on here for 2 months. Let's see what happens.
There you
You
go.
know. So so where are you kind of at creatively right now? I know you released a song earlier this year called Simple Love Song, which
Yeah.
I've ran across I before I met or found you on Instagram, I'd realized I'd heard Simple Love Song on YouTube a couple different times. I'd seen it kind of pop
Oh,
up in a few
oh,
different, like few of the live performances that you've done.
okay.
Um and or the live videos that have kind of that are kind of floating out there on YouTube and whatnot. And I do have to say that's a really killer song right there.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of ours, and she's got her own music too. She came in and did the backup vocals for us
Mm,
on that one. So she likes that one too. She says that's her favorite song.
nice. Cool, cool,
But
cool.
where
But
we're
I,
at,
yeah, yeah, sorry, I kind of buried two questions in there at one time.
no,
Uh,
I was gonna follow up with yeah, the question. Where we're at creatively right
yeah.
now is we just got out of the studio again just last month. And so I had three singles.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna double them up and I've got six that are gonna come out here eventually. But we'll stagger them again, you know, just kind of fill it out like a little bit. That post-production party I mentioned it before is gonna be on October 10th. And we're doing it to where a couple of I guess I can call them sponsors. A couple of sponsors of mine are going to come out there providing food, we're providing drinks, and it's going to be at the studio itself. So you kind of see like the behind the scenes and then get to listen to all of the music in its entirety first there at the studio while we're doing all that. So um, that's like the biggest thing like right now that we're doing with it. So and there'll be shows and like uh like a single release party or
Mhm.
anything else that we're doing. We got a music video that we're talking about doing, and it's going to be over at TX Whiskey here in
Mhm.
Fort Worth. And so we talked with them, and they were very supportive about having me come out there to shoot the video, and that'll be coming out. Yeah, it's later on.
Yeah, fair enough.
So right now, it's just about the music coming out.
For sure. For sure. You know, but I
Yeah,
mean, I think your head's in the right place. Like you've at this day and age, you've got to think about all of that, like music videos and like it feels very weird to kind of be like, I don't even have this song 100% ready, but we've got to start thinking
yeah.
about 12 steps ahead because that's just kind of where everything is right now. So,
Yeah, we were talking with them about the music video before we even got into the studio, and I was
mhm,
in that same headspace. I knew what I wanted to do with the song and where it's going to be at, but again, we hadn't had the guys in there yet and actually started tracking anything. And so, but yeah, that's what's good about married to a planner is that they're always thinking
yeah.
a few steps ahead. But it helps because now that time crunch is coming already, and we're just having to fit everything together. And yeah, we had time for that at least
Oh,
for us
yeah.
to get that scheduled.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, just kind of looking at that, obviously, you've got a busy couple weeks, you know, like a busy rest of the year, essentially.
Yeah.
Where's kind of your headspace just at in general? Like, are you nervous, excited? Are you anxious? Like, where are you kind of at mentally right now?
Right now, so we have the music back. I've been listening to it, and so right now, it's just knowing where the music's going to be at. That's where my focus is
Mhm.
just to have those ready and to go for once when we're ready to start releasing these on the stagger, getting them out to the radio stations. They're going to be able to play all that stuff and just promoting them in enough time to get this done. So it was a lot of trial and error with this, obviously. So I'm pretty new to all this, and again, I'm very thankful for people like yourself and others that are coming out here and wanting to interview and help out with this independent artist because I didn't know what I was doing
Yeah.
when I first started doing this. And as time's going on, now I'm learning more and more, of the ins and outs of this music industry. Yeah, for me, it's just making sure that everything is just going to be ready to go.
Hmm.
And so I still perform. Like I just got done performing this past weekend. We were all over. So you're mentioning here in Waco.
Hmm.
We played a couple of shows out in Waco, out way, and then we went towards Houston to
Yeah.
Conroe. And so, but yeah, we'll go all over Texas and play. And so,
Nice.
yeah, and that's
That, that,
I was gonna say,
that is I was gonna say, that is the one thing that I really like about Waco is it's literally right in the middle of the three or four biggest cities, I guess, outside of El Paso, because I guess El Paso is pretty big. But, you know, like if you look at like the four biggest cities or metroplexes in Texas, and Waco is right in the middle, and to get to any one of them, nine times out of 10, you got to drive right through or within 20 minutes of Waco.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's very convenient. But also, Dallas Fort Worth, nine times out of 10, people are flying right into Dallas Fort Worth if they're
Mhm.
coming to Texas. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to change. So you mentioned Dallas Love Field. They're trying to do that here in Fort Worth. They're trying to turn Meacham Airport into a little airport itself where people can fly in directly to Fort Worth and then go down the strip and spend all their money right there. So that's their plan eventually.
Oh, that's great. Oh man, there's always something, isn't it? Always something.
That's
Oh,
been lost for a while. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. That's cool. I'll tell you what though, like I've had several different musicians from Fort Worth, or they're currently living in Fort Worth, similar situations to you where they been here for a good bit or, whatever.
Mhm.
When I started looking at trying to figure out where the next step was, Fort Worth wasn't on my radar. And now over the last 6 to 9 months, it's like maybe I need to put Fort Worth on my radar and just figure out what I could possibly do there as far as like work and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah, it's so much opportunity out here. So there's a
yeah.
mass exodus the last um I don't know, say like 5 years, I guess.
Mm,
Everybody coming from all these other states, and it seems like they were just kind of right here in the DFW area for a
mhm.
long time. This is when I currently still worked for AT&T. I just, I happen to see people are coming from Idaho,
Yeah.
California, Colorado, wherever the case was, and they liked it here because, again, you get the outskirts where you can do whatever you want to, and if you wanted to have bigger house or shoot your guns or whatever the
Hmm.
case is, you go do that out there. But then you're still half an hour away from the city life, and you go get really good sushi or whatever the case that you wanted to, and
Hmm.
go see a show. So, and yeah, this is an area where just the arts are just kind of thriving right now,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to be a part of it and help support all of that at the same time. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So, outside of music, what do you like to get into? What gets you in trouble outside of music?
Nothing really. Well, I guess it gets me in trouble. Nothing really gets me in trouble. I'm not like a big drinker. I'm not a heavy
Hmm.
drinker or anything else. I'm not gonna go out and just party away.
Yeah.
Normally, when I'm not doing music, we're just hanging out with the family. So what we're doing with music, traveling everywhere. We bought a RV
Hmm.
trailer, and so we pull our trailer, and we're staying at a lot of Texas state parks everywhere.
Hmm.
And so normally, when I'm not doing music, I like to fish, I like to kayak. I love to go on some hikes. And so I'm trying to pull the trigger right now on getting a mountain bike and start doing
Nice.
some mountain bike riding again. And just staying active out there and just let the kids know that, we can get all our work done. But then at the same time, we can go out and experience things that not a lot of people get. I mean, we had the whole Guadalupe River to ourselves
Yep.
just last week. And so we're out there swimming in the river. It was a Tuesday, and
Hmm.
we're there from 11 o'clock and didn't leave until about 7 or 8, in the river. And that's
Yeah.
when people start showing up is later on in the evening. But that's like, they got to see Big Bend State
Mm.
Park this year. We've gone all over. They got to see the caverns and Carlsbad.
Mm.
And so again, with Galveston's Galveston, but
Yeah.
but we're going all over for stuff all the time. And so they get to rock climb, they get to go on these hikes, they get to do these trails, they get to see
Nice.
these rivers and the lakes and stuff, and just have a great time doing so
Yeah.
because we homeschool all of our kids. So
Mm.
that's where most of my time is going to, is towards the family
Mm. That's really
when
cool.
I'm not doing music, but they're
Fair.
still a part of it as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad the one you brought up the Guadalupe, and I just remember going out there last year. Like
uh
for in a jam last year, the river wasn't too bad because we were like right by the where the dam is there in New Braunfels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't that bad, but then I went a little bit further out towards like San Antonio and that like where the Guadalupe goes out that way, and some of those riverbeds were like,
Like
holy
creeks.
cow. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
creeks or they were just like nothing. Like there was nothing there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was bad.
We stayed at the Guadalupe River State Park. So it's right
Mm,
outside of Bel Verde. and
Hmm.
that's where Spring Branch, Beverly area,
Yeah.
and so that's where we were. And yeah, it was a good time out there. It was nothing wrong. So I'm sure they're getting rain here eventually too. All the rain seems like it's moving south, so they
Oh yeah.
might start getting all that here eventually.
Oh yeah. I've seen some very entertaining videos of rain moving right down the Guadalupe, or like what? Not rain, but like the water moving down the Guadalupe. So
Hmm.
it's been very entertaining.
Yeah, one place we haven't gone yet, we're gonna start looking towards that area, is we haven't been, I've never been to Caddo Lake yet. And so I
Hmm.
can't wait to show the kids that. And yes, I see pictures all the time and
Yeah.
the TikTok videos of people going through it, but I want to check all that out and go
Yeah.
see Caddo Lake and start kayaking again all throughout those areas. So
Nice.
it's one of Texas's natural lakes. And so I
Yeah.
think it's might be the only one. I'm not sure, but yeah.
The only one in Texas.
I
May
believe. I'm not quite sure. I know Caddo has been
Yeah.
ranked as one of those natural lakes. So,
Okay. Yeah,
but
yeah, that sounds about right. Because I was sitting here, I was like, Texas, yeah, probably. I can't really think anything off the top of my head, but I'm almost positive there's other natural. Yeah. So,
there probably is. But
but
that's going to be like my number one. That's
yeah,
going to be like the top. I'm sure once I get out there. I
nice.
hope we catch some fish. And so when we're not playing music, at least go out there and catch some fish. So
Eh, that's really cool. I love it. I love it so much. So I don't want to keep you here too much longer because you've just got off a full other interview with Dustin. And now, is that something else that you do, or is that more your wife with like doing the radio stuff?
it's just something so sound and just equipment in general,
Mhm.
just gear. It's just another little passion of mine. So I like doing sound and running live sound. I used to do host open mics, and I used to work for other venues and
Mhm.
actually operate their sound for them, be a sound guy. So that's just something I help produce here.
Okay.
Is just make sure that things are sounding the way they should, kind of deal. And so,
For sure.
but you're still working that out. This is kind of like our own little spot here at a place called here in Fort Worth that opened up called the Launch Box, and it's just a,
Mhm.
a big multi-use studio for bloggers. Just they have a recording studio actually here. They do like actual video productions and stuff as
Nice.
well. So yeah, it's
Nice.
fun.
That's really cool. I'm telling you, man, y'all are just selling Fort Worth like really well. Man, that sounds great. So,
Yeah, we're
um,
we're we're kind of got our heels dug in here now.
nice.
We
That
talk about what we're going to do in the future. We wanted to be park hosts, but I think we might be stuck here. How do you know?
right. I've kind of decided that unless I got a really sweet deal in Nashville, Texas is kind of where I want to be, just because it's
Oh yeah.
I the winters still kind of irk me, but I can live with like especially here in Waco, you get like one severe storm a year, and it's usually mid-February, so you kind of know when these storms are going to hit, even though you have no idea.
Hmm.
And it's just like, okay, I can live with like one really bad storm a year. And
Yeah.
it's not even really that bad. It's just bad because Texas isn't really prepared to handle a winter storm.
Yeah, I
So,
could say that. And so,
yeah,
but I mean, we are independent though too, so we
yeah,
run our own.
yeah,
You
yep,
got to
yep.
be loving that. But
Oh, yeah. It's definitely been an interesting time. The only time that I was like ready to move out of Texas was that 2021, or yeah, the 2021 ice
the ice, yeah, the ice, the
once a year.
snowmageddon, yeah,
Yeah, that thing. I
where
was like,
everybody bought generators and they haven't had to use it since.
yep, yep, yep. I was telling somebody about that the other day, and they didn't believe me when I said could when I was telling them people. Oh, it was somebody that grew up in around where I grew up in Chicago. I was like, yeah, people just weren't ready for it. They started their cars to try and heat their house, and all died from carbon
Oh
monoxide
goodness,
poisoning,
yeah,
and it
wow.
was yeah, it was bad. So.
Mm.
But I really appreciate your time. If anybody wants to check out your music, any shows, social media, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me directly off the website. You just bronsonlouis.com.
Nice.
And Lewis is spelled like you would like Louis Armstrong
Yeah.
or. kind of deal. So
Nice.
yeah, LOUIS. I mean, we call it St. Louis, Missouri. So why don't
Yeah.
we just say, yeah, it's spelled that way.
Yeah. I
But
was, that's why I had to ask before we jumped on here. I was just like, just clarifying for my own sake of mine.
yeah,
I have an idea. I know it's Lewis, but every once in a while it's like, oh, it's Louis or it's this or it's that. And it's like, where'd these extra letters come from? So
right.
yeah. But
Yeah,
once
nothing
again,
silent or anything.
yeah, right. But once again, I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.